Petrol at 617 naira per litre. FG on the path to dictatorship. We will resort to self-help. They are not my words. These are words of Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC. Welcome to Business Daily. I am Yusuf Akogu. We take business top stories. Glad to have you back. Interesting development there in the world of business. Now we quickly go to the stock market to give you update of what transpired yesterday. The market closed positive. The all share index they're up 1.31%. Of course, the volume of shares 8.802 million. Of course, in terms of value 4.280 billion, and of course in terms of deals 8,970 billion. It's actually 4.802 billion value of trade that exchange hands among investors yesterday. We look at the gainers for the day. Of course, we have the likes of NEM Insurance gaining 10% to close at 5 naira 94 cup. Of course, Honey Flour also closing positive 10 naira. 10% indeed, 3 naira and 30 cup. And of course, Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank, of course, closing positive as well. 10% it gained to close at 1 naira 87 kobo per shares. The losers on the day, of course, we have the like of Japan Gold closing negative there, 10% to close at 81 kobo. Of course, FTN Cocoa also closing 2 naira 29 kobo there per share. Of course, Codvile also losing 8.64% to close at 74 kobo on Tuesday. Of course, the activity chart also indicated that FCMB Group traded the highest volume of shares, 154 million, followed by Dangote Cement, 105, and of course, Access Bank also 49.5 million volume of shares. How are the sectors doing? Let's look at the banking sector down 0.17%. And of course, industrial sector 3.58%. Consumer sector 0.66%. Oil and gas 0.56%. And of course, insurance sector also down. Up there 4.25%, the highest gainer for the day in terms of sector. The rest of Africa, indeed, are also not doing so good. As we can see, Johannesburg Stock Exchange in South Africa down 0.32%. In Kenya, Nairobi Stock Exchange is down 1.07%. And of course, Ghana is also down 0.03%. Interesting development from the stock market across Africa. Of course, as usual, the trading is on, and of course, we'll keep a tab and of course to give you updates of all the trading activities on major floors across the continent. Now we take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go into our discussion for the day. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go into our discussion. Interesting development in the economy. How interesting is it, especially for Nigerians? Hiking fuel prices, the palliatives, and of course the implementation plan. So many back and forth there with the federal government. I have joining me in the studio, of course, it's a business administrator, Chief Executive Officer, Davis Mines Nigeria Limited. The company is into energy sector, especially the renewable energy. Dr. Solomon Edebiri, glad to have you here.
Good morning, Yusuf.
Yes,
nice to be here again.
Always a pleasure to have you. You are a big businessman. You may not be affected by the hike in fuel price.
Everyone is affected.
Absolutely.
This one, there's no big bird in it. It's biting hard on everyone because you have to go to the same market. Everybody has to go to the market. Everybody needs to go through the street. Everybody has to buy fuel to drive his car. So the average operating cost right now has gone up by about 500 to 600% just because of the increase. And if you know, we are moving from 198 right now to 617.
That's in Abuja. In some places, 630,
some places also 700.
Exactly.
People bought 700 this morning. And there's this simple fear that in the next few weeks, some areas will be buying fuel at 1,000 naira per liter. And with the income level even dropping, it's not stable, it's not going up, then we're afraid millions of Nigerians are going to be thrown into poverty. And that's a sad story to tell.
Indeed, a very, very sad story. Yeah. You raise a very, very critical question there. This is impacting negatively on businesses. And we have some small businesses that are not even balanced enough. Now, facing this kind of thing, what do you think this portends for the economy?
Well, like I said, it's a sad tale. Sad tale in the sense that most of our businesses, especially the small-scale businesses, which are even struggling to survive, are going to be dragged into the mud more. And most of our businesses require energy, require fuel, either diesel or petrol to survive. Our renewable energy is not tariff yet. It's not up to that level. It's not come alive fully that people can rely on renewable energy to do. So we still rely on fossil fuel. And this fossil fuel is what the government is focusing on to hike the price. So basically, businesses are going to close down. Those who will manage to stay afloat are going to be operating at extremely high cost. And you know the reprisal effect of this. If you produce at high cost, you sell at higher cost. And it keep going. It's just a simple effect of a man that produces rice in the market. In the farm, And as soon as the cost of production of the rice is what will affect his sales cost. The man that has restaurants is going to buy from that market. And at the end of the day, the cost of the final product, the food, is going to go up. So everyone is going to be in pain. Everyone is going to suffer this.
Indeed. Of course, government has already proposed palliatives already, so we expect that will cushion the effect of whatever hardship that Nigeria are facing.
What kind of palliatives?
Are facing.
What kind of palliative? For me, palliative is a relief. It's something you provide to provide succor, to give succor to the people and give them a great relief. You can't be providing palliative to the people by paying them pittance, paying them a little amount of money and think it's going to get them out of that. I understand this morning, as yesterday it was being in the news, the government is retracting from that. They are retracting from that to do what? Have you called everybody to the table? It's nothing wrong in deregulating the petroleum market. There's nothing wrong in it, especially petroleum products. But what is wrong is there has to be a fallback option. If you had put the refineries in shape, let the refineries be working. We produce crude oil in Nigeria. So this crude oil will be bought in Naira from Nigeria. Nigeria owns the crude oil. So our refineries will procure that crude oil in Naira, take to the refinery, process them, and sell to our people in Naira. Petroleum product price will not be more than 100 Naira per liter, no matter what it is. But right now, we are faced with the challenge of buying in dollars, shipping it in dollars, and the Naira has been extremely devalued against the dollar. So what effect will it have? It's going to shoot up the prices. And so, for me, if you're talking about palliative, it's not about giving money to the people that you talk about palliative. You can't pass through the roads.
According to the special advisor to the president on communications, special duties communication and strategy, Mr. Dele Alake, he did say that the 8,000 naira palliative is just one arm of the government proposal, that there are others coming. Just that Nigeria maybe are not patient enough to wait.
Just like I said when I was having a conversation on this, I can't believe this approach is coming from the storehouse of Mr. President. Because we used to appreciate the fact that he has a team of good economists that can put things together. And from that storehouse, we'll get things that will energize the economy, and then the people will rejoice. I can't believe that's coming out from there. If you are traveling, I'm just going to give one simple example. If you are traveling from Benin to Abuja by road, naturally it should be 6 hours. But it takes about 24 hours right now. That is something that is injurious to the economy. Now, the refineries are not working. The roads are bad. Prices of food commodities in the market are so high. So what palliative are we talking about? Even if you're going to bring in transport. So we're looking at the simple fact. Can't you provide buses for all the states? If right now the cost of Benin to Lagos is 20,000 naira, these buses should take nothing less than 10,000 naira, nothing more than 10,000 naira, or even 6,000, 7,000 naira. And they stay afloat. They can run their buses. They can even save to improve on the quantity of the buses on the street. The palliative will go around everybody, both the rich and the poor, of course, and the assumed poor. And however, if that happens, the rich man who has a Jeep and he has to fuel it to 100,000 naira a week, will drop his Jeep at home and jump on that bus because it's comfortable, it is convenient. What about the trains? The train system is epileptic. It's not even across the country. So we need to work on a number of issues on transportation, on production of oil, of petroleum products in the market, on food production and food prices. No country in the world does not have subsidy. The question is, what are you subsidizing?
Absolutely, that's a big
what are we subsidizing in Nigeria? We don't want to subsidize petroleum. We don't want to subsidize power. We don't want to subsidize food. We don't want to subsidize transportation. Air price has gone so high. So what are we subsidizing? So I think the president needs to go back to the drawing board. There has to be subsidy in one or two areas. At least let it be on local issues. It can be on food and transportation. And at the end of the day, the people can move from one point to the other at a lesser cost. Food can be produced at cheaper. How can we be buying rice for 40,000 naira?
Over 40,000.
Over 40,000. And you want the poor man to eat rice when he earns 30,000 naira at the end of the month? Even if he earns 100,000, how's he going to feed on rice? It's a problem. How are we working on these numbers? How are we working on bringing the numbers down that the poor man can afford this big rice? And cassava is our staple food in Nigeria. Everyone will eat rice, everyone will eat gari. So how do we bring
but the question now is, which should have come first, palliatives or the increase in fuel prices? That's
where the balance, we are missing the balance. There would have been a complete overview of everything, a critical censor of the whole thing. I said, look, in 1 year, we'll be taking the prices of subsidy off the petroleum. We'll take the subsidy off in the next 1 year. However, within this 1 year, the refineries will work. So NNPC will sell crude oil to refineries to produce at Naira. And so the cost of PMS, pump price, will not be more than 200 Naira a liter or even come down. That's number one. Two, we will provide transportation, provide buses to support transportation in every state. Three, we'll fix all the roads. I mean, I'm not saying it is going to be possible to get all the roads to work in 1 year, but they can be mended. All the failed areas, the failing areas can be mended. And while you are doing the major construction work. And so people can pass with ease without fear of being held up at one position for 24 hours. And then when you have done that, and then you go back to this is our measures for farming to bring down the cost of food production. You see, so all these will work over a year, and everything will come to stability. And then when you take off the subsidy, nobody will even know you have taken off the subsidy. Reason being, the cost of the PMS will not go up astronomically because you're already producing petroleum locally. We have stopped the importation of finished petroleum products. So the cost has now been localized. So we are paying in Naira for the product that will go to the filling station. They will pay in Naira, and the people buying will pay in Naira. There's no more importation of fuel. You can't handle this. Remove subsidy. You are issuing import license for finished products, and you are devaluing the Naira as to over 100% devaluation, and then these people are going to buy in dollars. I mean, you should help me do the math. It is a difficult reconciliation.
But Dr. Edebiri, yes. I understand your pains and, of course, the pains of many Nigerians as well. But what NNPCD told us that they are deregulating the market, total deregulation of the market. Yeah. So what we're having now is more like market forces being allowed to determine the price of petroleum. Those were some of the explanation provided by the group managing director of NNPC yesterday.
When you're talking of market forces, I agree. When you deregulate a sector, market forces will affect it. But what is the market force affecting the petroleum product right now? It's the cost of dollar. That is a major market force. In the last administration.
So who should we blame for that?
If the country is running well and everybody is happy, you blame number one. You appreciate number one, I mean the president. If the country is not running well and everybody is not happy, who do you take it to? You take it to number one. He needs to go to his bank of intellectualism. He needs to go back to his storehouse, the economic storehouse, and look at this thing. And now, one thing, as a politician, you came from the street because the people on the street voted for you. Our policies must be directed at positively affecting the people on the street. That is the issue. Now, those people who probably ministers, big corporation directors, may not be affected directly, but to indirectly affect them as well. Because their budget, somebody was spending 5 million a month, now has to spend 25 million. So it's not the same. So he's also affected. But however, who is worth hit? The man that is sending his children to school. People can no longer pay school fees abroad, even if they have to go abroad. Even locally, school fees have gone up everywhere. The man cannot give his child transport to go to school anymore. He used to give him 200 naira to and fro, 50 to go, 50 to come. We don't have the provision like you have in the UK, where if you are wearing school uniform, transportation is free. There is nothing like that. We don't have them. So government need to go beyond just saying we are removing subsidy, we will provide palliative. We need to look at the whole thing. Students need to go to school free. Food production needs to be lesser. We need to reduce, the production of food need to have a subsidized process where people can be able to produce their food at cheaper rates and sell at cheaper rates. And at the end of the day, the finished product coming out of this farm will also be at cheaper rates. These are some of the issues that we need to address. So putting these mechanisms in place would have been number one. And of course, I think even labor is not helping matter. It's not about fighting. It's about thinking. It's about working together.
That's where I'm actually going to. So what do you want NLC to do at this point? They are the representative of Nigerian workers and, of course, by extension, the larger population. There are about 4 million people or thereabout of them. But again, they are like the driving force when it comes to negotiation of this nature. Now there is a committee, a joint committee between Labour and the federal government. They have given government, I think, about 8 weeks. I think we've eaten into like this the 4th or 5th week of that extension now. Now another increase has happened yesterday, and of course Labour is also saying, like we had earlier, that probably they may have to resort to self-help. So what do you have to tell Labour at this point?
We need constructive engagement. I wonder whether Labour is still have that capacity to enter into constructive engagement that will.
Are you doubting the leadership of?
Of course, I'm not so confident that they have that capacity to enter into constructive engagement with the government and say, let's come to, because all these are supposed to happen before the removal of fuel subsidy. There is supposed to be an agreement with the people, and if Labour represents the people, then there should have been an agreement with the people to say that's true Labour. And so say, look, this is what we have agreed. There's going to be phased removal of the fuel subsidy, and while that is being done, there's going to be this, the refinery will be working, there will be buses all over the place, transportation will be everywhere. I know all the roads will be fixed. You can't travel on the roads, but that has not been done. So what's Ajayro doing? What's he focusing on? He should tell Nigerians what he's doing. We need a high-power negotiation with the government. We need positive, constructive negotiation with government to say, look, our people are dying. Yusuf, they are not suffering. Our people are dying. You need to go to the streets. You need to go to the people. Crime is on the rise. It's on the increase. So who is going to bail Nigerians out? President needs to be told the truth, that the system is burning. People are dying in silence. And a lot of people in Nigeria don't want anarchy. We don't want war. We don't want trouble. And I appreciate the youth. The youth are not interested in all this kind of war or that. Students are calm, yes. But they should not be taken for granted. We need the president to appreciate the fact that the economy needs to be fixed in a manner that it will not burn the fingers and throat of the people.
Now that we're at this point, more like a tipping point, as some people will say, now what do you want government to do to alleviate the sufferings of Nigeria? I think something that, I mean, the immediate intervention that you think government should do at this point.
Well, first and foremost, we need to fix the refineries. Government needs to speak to the issue to tell Nigerians this fuel price will come to normal, will drop in the next 6 months. It's not going to take more than 3 months to get that refinery working. Government needs to create a riot act, state of emergency on Nigerian refineries. That needs to be done. Secondly, what's wrong? What's going on with our modular refineries? I mean, a lot of licenses, actually over 100 licenses, permits have been issued for people to establish modular refineries. What is happening to them? If modular refineries are producing locally, why can't we sell them locally? If I have a modular refinery in Imo State, or in Edo State, or in Delta State, so why can I produce and sell to the people in Delta State? Why can't government sell crude oil to me in Naira? And when I produce, I sell to people in Naira, locally. We need to work on that. Government need to look at the fact that what is wrong with this process? Is this modular refinery thing working? Thirdly, and very important, we need to visit the issue of artisanal refineries. You see, this crude oil that we are bringing out, is fossil, that we produce fossil fuel for us, is behind my house. It's behind your house. It's behind people's houses.
Houses, absolutely.
Are you getting my point? Now, people live with our community. They were pushed to illegal refining of petroleum products, which was endangering the environment. We can re-engineer that process, re-engineer it, create artisanal refineries where they can refine 100 to 200 barrels, 300 maximum a day, and serve the immediate community. That can work.
Why also harmonizing the so-called illegal refineries? Why can't we just, legalize them and then...
That's the artisanal refinery. That's that process, of legalizing it. When you agree to set up artisanal refineries, provide the support for them, then of course, it is simple for you to legalize them, give them permit to operate, have a supervisory role over them. And then, fourthly...
finally, no.
Okay, well, I don't know you get it to finally yet, but fourthly, our roads need to be fixed so that commuters can pass easily. And government need to, I repeat, need to provide buses for every state, at least 100 to 150. And with a strong instruction that those buses must carry a control prices. So people will drop that.
Absolutely, and even jobs will be created as well.
It will create millions of jobs. And then students, once you're in uniform, you should be able to jump on the bus and go to school free. Without paying.
Absolutely.
We also need to work on the food end, because food coming in is a problem. When it comes in expensive, it goes into the stomach expensive. And then, of course, Yusuf, let's not forget the energy factor.
Absolutely.
Let's not forget the energy factor. We need to encourage renewable energy so that we can reduce the concentration on fossil fuel.
I must thank you, Dr. Solomon Edebiri. Quite inciting submission there that you have given on Business Daily this morning. Business Administrator, Chief Executive Officer, Davis Mines Nigeria, and of course, he's a graduate of Petroleum Training Institute and a former President Nigerian Institute of Welders. I must thank you for your time.
Thank you very much,
on Business Daily.
Thank
We
you for
appreciate
having
your
me.
contribution.
Thank you.
Well, with that is the wrap on Business Daily today. For some network problem challenges, we were unable to connect with Petri Redlingers from South Africa, but hopefully next week, Wednesday, we'll get him back here to give us update of stock market activities in South Africa. I am Yusuf Akogu. Join us tomorrow for more.